Buses, your local bus company serving your football team. Buses run every 10 minutes. Avoid the traffic. Don't get stuck in the delay. Get Ipswich Buses today. Ipswich Buses, proud to partner with Talking Town. Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Monday Night Talk. It's Extra Time. I am the Gov. I'm looking forward to another conversation and debate about our football team. It is, of course, the middle of May. We've got a couple of rumours we can get to grips with, put some comments on. Other than that, we're going to carry on our Who Stays, Who Goes. We've got a couple of players that we haven't yet mentioned over the last couple of weeks. I know Kally wants to discuss the back three conversation, which is rumbling across social media. And there's a couple of other things as well. Away fans, league table. And one player you would sign. If you were given the checkbook, who would you sign? The chat is very busy. You can, of course, get involved one of two ways, or both ways, really. You can get active in the live chat, or you can come on the show and have your say, in your words, on your platform, Unfiltered and Live. Got Nick Muller, welcome in. Stephen Parry, YouTube member, good evening, sir. Anthony Steele, good evening, fellow Talking Towners. Good evening, Anne. I hope you are well. Mr. Brown, Lee Anderson, Colin Plum, Mark Rattle, Nick Starling, some great people in the chat already. Lots of comments. Absolutely love this. Roman, hello, Gov. Hope you're all good, sir. I'm not too bad, brother man. I've got tonsillitis again, but, you know, we live, we learn, we rock and roll. Kevin Gates, hi everyone, hope you are well. Just got home from my cleaning job. Kevin, good work, my man. Sit down, have a beer. Make it an away day beers, of course. Awaydaybeers.com for all your beer needs, combining the love of football and beer. Awaydaybeers.com. We've got Saj, welcome in. Loads of you absolutely flying through the doors. We love to see it. And Adrian Garrett is one of our new YouTube members. That's right, Adrian is living his best life because he's become a YouTube member. Follow his fantastic lead. Our YouTube memberships are available. It's very easy. I think it takes about 2 minutes. You don't even need to leave YouTube, I'm told. You can scan the QR code on the screen, which will take you to our Ko-Fi. Both are treated exactly the same, our Ko-Fi and our YouTube members, with a whole host of perks, hopefully in the works. This is our last Monday night show of the series, but don't worry, it's only a week off before the new series starts. So never fear, my friends. Talking Town is always going to be here. Just don't tell my wife. Sharon, love it. Gov, I have got shares in Milkshake. I have. Right. The Premier League ended yesterday. So this was last week's table. This will now be updated and we will have a winner of our Fantasy Premier League. We have got our outright winner of our Prediction League, which is Mr. Mike Woods. And we've got our top 5 from the Prediction League. So in the coming week, probably the start of season 3, which is not next week, the week after, we will do some prize giveaways. I have sourced, and I'm going to sound really big-headed here because I've sourced them myself, but I've sourced some proper tasty prizes. Like literally, people like George Nunn, who did a couple of weeks of Prediction League, are going to be kicking themselves that they didn't take it seriously, and they might consider taking it seriously next week. So speaking of which, let's go ahead and bring in our designer. Let's play his intro of this season for the last time. It is Mr. George Nunn. Good evening, Mr. Nunn. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm right. How are you?
Good, man. That was your intro for this season. Last time it will be played this year. I have shown you your intro for next year without giving it away. Without giving it away. Which one's better, George? Lay it on the line.
New one, of course, Gov. The new one.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate you saying that. To me, all 10 seconds this afternoon is not that together. I'm getting better.
I'm glad it's the first draft.
First and only draft, my friends. First and only draft. How are you? How's your week been? Because obviously last week we sat here and we chewed the fat so much so, my friend, that I thought we'd do half an hour, and we ended up doing an hour and probably 10 minutes in the end, was it?
Yeah, well, I've never been particularly short of words, so yeah, I apologise. I've been good. It's been busy. I can't believe it's been a week.
I know. It's flying through. Safety guys thought we'd all be on a beach by now. Have you seen a beach this year, George?
No beaches in Arizona.
Oh, yes, when you went to see your friends.
Plenty of sand.
Plenty of sand and plenty of owners, I hear.
How do you just have that?
Oh, never send the Gov anything, my friends, because I have it all at the fingertips. I have it all at the fingertips. But yes, no beaches, just owners. That's what George rock and rolls in. I haven't seen a beach probably since before COVID. Look, I'm not counting Felixstowe Beach in that, because that's not really a beach. I lived there for sort of not on the beach, obviously, but for 15 years. So I ain't really counting that as a beach holiday.
Beach man.
Yeah, well, I might do next week in my only week off, really. You know, no shows next week at all. It's the buffer between the last and the new. Lee says, think George is better than 10 seconds of your time, Gov. You're always worth more than 10 seconds of my time, George. You know that. Up the Nunny Monster, says Owen Griffiths. Lots of love for our designer, Mr. George. No, George, have you used our QR code yet? Have you scanned it?
I tested it when I made it.
So you know it works.
I'm pretty sure it works. Yeah. What are people saying it doesn't? Are you not?
No. I was just wondering if we should try and encourage people to hit the QR code to see if it does work. Of course.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can't have too many testers in my experience. So
absolutely. So let us know if you do, what happens, because I haven't got a QR code. That's far too. I mean, see my phone. I mean, literally. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're talking. Look at the stat of that.
That's impressive. What is that iPhone? What?
It's an iPhone smashed. That's what it is, my friends. Basically, it's still going. It's still alive until I drop it one day and it dies completely. I'm going to keep it. On a separate note, we have got a survey out, which I would encourage you all to take part in. It's going to help us shape our content on our audio platforms next year. Currently, we only have our Talking Town Sunday show on there. Now, if you want the Monday show or the Wednesday show or both or whatever on there as well, this is your chance to let us know. And next year, I'll see what I can put together. Because currently, George, sadly, so you're not on the audio platform. You're just on the YouTube, I'm afraid, my friend.
It's a shame it's my face for radio as well. Probably.
I just didn't think they would listen to you in their ears. Your sultry tones. But
no, see my face, don't listen to my voice.
It's about bandwidth and time, you know, and not over flooding your audio mailbox, basically. But if you want it, then I will do it. Mike D said I scanned it and a picture of the owners popped up. Right, on to some news. Right, in the news.
That was new. What was that?
Oh, you're not seen that? You like that? There you go. You see, I've had that actually all season. I haven't realised I've never used it. I'm now using all the toys from this year just so I can say I used them at least once. Right, we have got a young player being eyed by West Ham and Arsenal. Can you try and say the name for me, George? Because I'm not great with pronunciations.
I mean, I can try and say it. It's Chihuahua, isn't it?
Chihuahua, right. Chihuahua being eyed by West Ham and Arsenal. Is this a case, George, of Premier League teams being able to stockpile players, just hoovering up or trying to hoover up a young talent? Or is there anything really in this that you'd be concerned about? What's your gut telling you on this rumour?
Well, the first thing's quite concerning, but yeah, I think it is. It's the problem with the category. If it's true, it is the problem with the category system that we're in, isn't it? Which is that any contracts that they have with us aren't really worth the paper they're written on. And
they're not. No.
until they're old enough in the eyes of whoever made that decision to be a senior player, then anyone can come in and take them and just pay whatever they're told to pay, which is frustrating.
And with the vast amounts of riches they've got in the Premier League, you honestly can see. I mean, look at Brighton. They wanted Dobra, for example. From my perspective, that was just, again, stockpiling a decent player in the hope that if he works out, brilliant, we've got ourselves a great player at a small cost. If he doesn't, he'll be one of the many young players every year that's released by a Premier League football club.
Yeah, exactly. It's asked about face, isn't it, really? That means they've got all the money and all of the facilities and all of the everything else to stockpile all of these players, but it doesn't do the players, by and large, much good. But apart from the promise of money and potential high-level football. So, yeah, I mean, who knows if it's true or not, but it'll be a real shame if we do lose. It's always a shame when we lose youngsters to Premier League interest and we don't get to see, and nobody gets to see whether they could have made it by playing football.
That's a great point by Stephen Parry as well. And they make the fee back on the loans more times than not. Yep. So, it's a really sort of cock to hoot system, if you like. Will he have a pathway to the first in the next few years? Well, you'd hope so, but you just don't know really. And I don't know. I mean, you never want to see a young player go, obviously, as you've said. But this year we saw two players who left and went on to bigger and better things back on loan in this division. One was with Crew, and I think one was with MK Dons. Was it? I know Ben Knight was one of them with Crew, wasn't he? And he went to Man City from a young age with a big potential, and that just sort of highlights it for me. Lee Brown said I would drive him to Brighton. I don't think Brighton are interested in him right now, Lee. I think that ship has sailed. The other piece of news is midfielder Tom Bayliss. Now, the report I've said, it says we're interested in Preston's transfer listed midfielder Tom Bayliss. I believe he was on loan at Wigan this year. Got 6 starts in 8 games, George. 1.3 key passes, an 80% accurate completion rate, 89% of that in his own half. In the Championship last year, 2 starts, 1 goal, 0.1 key passes. So, I mean, obviously Wigan's the most recent. If it was to come off, if that was a player that we were interested, is it lighting a fire under you? Is it rocking your boat there?
No, but we have to have a certain amount of faith in Scout. I am not. So, as I've said before, so I have faith in those that are to see more.
Designer you are.
Than I do.
Scout
well,
you are
not even one of those. So, but yeah, I they have to be seeing something more in him than those stats if it's true. But obviously it's not making me hugely exciting. It doesn't sound anything more impressive than we have.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the other sites, such as the guys and the girls in the chat are saying, TWTD, I don't mention that site, guys and girls, but they're saying we're not interested. But, it's a player that's transfer listed, was on loan in League One. You've got to take these as always with a pinch of salt.
It feels like an easy link, doesn't it?
Yeah. Journalists have got to earn their money, really. Let's be honest.
We've tightened up a little bit, haven't we? Or a lot. It felt like, certainly last summer, it felt like we tightened up a lot in terms of what slipped out of the club and what was arguably deliberately released from the club in terms of rumours.
I agree.
So I guess it gets to the point where to boost readership, you need to throw out a name there, even if 6 hours later you say that it's not.
You do, but he is transfer listed. He was on loan in League One. I just wasn't infused with those stats. It's only 6 starts. It's not that great. Might be based in World Commentary in League One. Preston paid $2 million for him. Obviously, a decent player at this level. So there you go. Just because one paper claims there's interest and one outlet claims there isn't, only time will tell. Stephen Parry, it's the Ipswich Portsmouth thing. I'm thinking it's BS, same as last year. Lee Brown, young old players on loan. Fee Bees, or I want to see his promotion next season. Absolutely right. Let's complete the trio. Here he is. It's your king.
Man, I'm gully and techie. You want me, then check me. Just butt me. I'm ready.
King Kally Bisla. Here he is. How are you, sir?
I'm good, lads. How we doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Let's kick things off with a conversation which has been dominated, well, not dominating, but certainly been spoken about on social media. Was on the show yesterday, on the show last week. Back three. Which is your back? I mean, I'm not going to ask you which is your back three, Kally, because that's like asking you what color is the sky. But what are you saying, big man? Junoy Donatian. There's some rumbles from some fans.
I don't know why we're talking about the back three. Okay, we're talking about you got Ndaba and Baggett, and I agree with what people are saying about Baggett. He needs to get loaned out, right? Let him have a loan. He's not had a season, so the only one there is then Ndaba, right? Assuming we don't bring another defender in, right? But there's only so who's Ndaba going to compete with? Well, he's naturally a left-sided player.
Yeah.
So I don't get why all of a sudden people have says, I know he's a left-sided player, Janoy Dacian. Like JD's a right-sided player. Your person on that left centre back, and I'll say this, and I won't change my opinion on this, but in a back three, Fridge is the weaker option out of your three centre backs. He doesn't look as comfortable. If you're playing a back four as a centre back, he's probably the best centre back in that position in our squad. When you play that back three, the centre person in that back three has got to bring the ball out and have time and composure, and no one's better than Wolfie at that, right? So Fridge's only option is to slot down on the left or right side of it. Well, the right side, yes, possibly he could come over, but you're going to break up a good partnership. That's already happened there. Remember, JD isn't just a centre back; he's played right back as well. So he's been kind of coached into this wing back role, but he's had a bit more experience. Yep. Fridge is a centre back. The closest he's got to playing like as a off the right side or whatever was maybe, I think, the game at Bolton when we lost 5-2 at home. He played on the right side of the centre of the four.
Who, Fridge?
And Fridge and Burgess played on the left side.
It was his debut, wasn't it? It was his first game.
No, it was Burgess' debut, wasn't it?
I thought it was Fridge's debut. Bolton.
Fridge had already played. I'm sure Fridge had already played. And,
he'd been injured, hadn't he? I'm sure he'd been injured up until that point. I'm sure that was his debut. I
don't think
I'm never sure about anything, but I'm sure about that.
I'm pretty sure it was Burgess' debut and their debut as a pairing.
Okay, all right.
But
Josh says this, Kally. Josh, quite simple to be fair. Wolfen on the right, Fridge in the middle, and then Darby on the left. That's why people are saying it. But you're saying you'd put.
No. Look, you're gonna put.
I knew you were
in the middle.
I knew you were.
No, you're gonna put Fridge in the middle. Like Fridge is a no-nonsense defender. He's a last-ditch defender. He's good. He's good at blocking, tackling, and all the rest of it. Is he a defender that is comfortable on the ball and will bring the ball out? We've seen a few times he's tried it last season, and it's resulted in goals being conceded. Wednesday, Bolton, Morecambe.
Oh, Christ, yes.
Morecambe.
He didn't know when to stop. That was my impression with Fridge when he goes forwards. Is that he got to a point where he just suddenly looked terrified.
He looked uncomfortable. He looked like a defender trying to play on the ball. That's the reality, right? Now, and listen, like I said, in a back four, he's probably one of your best defenders. But in a back three, I'm not saying get rid of him, because I think Leander made a good point the other day when he said we'll probably switch up different formations in terms of who we play against and all the rest of it. Right, so I would expect us to play a back four at some point, and then you play Wolfie and Fridge in there or whatever. But for now, like that left centre back, it's between Ndaba and Fridge, and right now, if you're just looking on paper, you're saying, well, if we're just basing it, if we're looking at it through our eyes as Ipswich fans this season, what we've seen so far of Fridge in a back three, and the fact we've seen Ndaba do so well on loan, and as a left back and as a centre back as well, and we know he likes to drive forward, and okay, that's at League 2 level, you're kind of leaning towards Ndaba. So I think if Ndaba's knocking on and taking anyone's shirt or trying to take anyone's shirt, it's that left centre back. I don't see Fridge ever being able to do what JD does, attacking wise as well, right? Defensive wise, yes, he can do that, but then you're talking about and I know you can teach chemistry and they can coach on it and all the rest of it, but what that partnership between Burns and Donatian, that's been a key partnership for us this season, right? And okay, you could probably, you get another player there and they could learn it. But you know what, you see what JD does? He creates so much space for Burns.
True.
Fridge doesn't do that, and that's no criticism on Fridge. I'm just saying, in a back three, Nah, everyone's. I don't know what you lot are smoking. You need to send me a pack or
Let
something.
me ask you before I come to you, George, with a question. Let me ask something, Kally. You mentioned Fridge in his sort of his limitations. Obviously, we finished 11th in the third tier. What does the Nassian have to do better next year that he didn't do this year for you?
Who are you asking? Sorry.
You, Kally. I'm asking you, Kally.
I'd like to see a goal or two, right?
Ooh.
Couple more assists, because I think, and unfairly, maybe at the beginning of the season when he was just getting into the team and all the rest of it, there was a couple of comments about he gets a nosebleed if he gets forward. I think that's unfair. I remember, was it Crew at home or whatever, and he's the one that's got right to the byline in the 92nd minute, crossed it across for Selena to score the winner. Right, so he does get down that byline. He does, work his socks off, and he is quick. But I'd like to see more assists because he has got a few assists and a goal or two. I think was it Fleetwood? No, it wasn't Fleetwood. It was Morecambe again. He had a golden chance and he just couldn't find the back of the net. Yeah, about 6-7 yards out. But in that position, you think the way we're going to kind of load the box, so to speak, we're going to have everyone kind of loading in from the sides. You want to see that. You see lots of teams. I know we're talking about, Premier League teams, but you look at people like Trent as an example or whatever. Okay, he gets in, he finds a goal. I'm not saying JD's Trent, but
yeah.
what I will say, and I'll go on record saying this is Trent is not as good as a defender as JD.
Oh, that's big praise.
One-on-one defending, JD, yeah, no one.
Talking of good defenders, George. Some great comments in the chat before we quickly move it on to another area, because I didn't want to bring this up tonight, but I know Kally was sort of seething about.
I wasn't seething. I was just miffed as to how this became even a convo.
I'm teasing. It's something I saw on Facebook, and I was like, okay, that's quite interesting. We'll have a conversation with that. We like to try and bring the chat to life here that people at home are talking about with their friends down the pub, etc. But George, in Derby. Lots of people giving him praise. Andy asks in the chat, what has Ndaba done to have so much praise? And then Mike D makes a fantastic point. Haladki was goalkeeper of the year in League 2. He was awful. League 2 is Bobbins. Ndaba was player of the year for Salford. Are we, as fans, putting a little bit too much praise into Ndaba's stock? Do you think? Are we pumping it up a little bit too early? Or is there a player coming back that's worthy of the praise? Which side of the fence are you sort of on?
Well, I can't claim to have ever seen him play, so I think we need to be mindful of the fact that we might be putting a little bit too much pressure on him. But he's come back with, a good reputation from Salford, and yes, maybe we can use Halaki and Holy and any number of players that we've brought up, I guess, over the last few seasons as comparison, but I think
it's fair. Drilling looks good in League 2, so it is Bobbins.
I mean, I think he's earned the least he's earned, I would guess, is a place in and around the first team squad. And as Kally said, I think sending Baggett out, and as I think McKenna said, the likelihood is Baggett will go out, and that will probably open the door for Ndaba to have a similar experience, if not slightly earlier in the season, in and around the first team that Baggett had this year. And I think that's the right thing. That's the pathway to first team football at your parent club, isn't it? I think there's two players though, George, in that pathway blockage. It's Edmondson, Burgess, and then Ndaba. I think Ndaba needs Burgess to be removed to get a fair. Because let's say you go with the Nassian and Wolf into Edmondson gets an injury, Burgess is first man up. It needs to be in Ndaba, I would say, in what you're saying. So that means Burgess is sort of the odd one out. You mentioned some pressure there. We've been pegged as title favourites on the 22nd of May. Have we?
We have, 11-2, I think it was from memory. Who's your top three next year then, fellas? Don't worry, no one's going to come back to this at any point and say, you said this. If the game started tomorrow on the 24th of May, who's your top three prediction? Kally, I'll come to you first. Who's your top three for next year as things stand?
Top one's easy.
Who's that, Town?
Obviously.
Good man. So Town will win it. They're the bookies' favourites. So you're going to go and follow the bookies' favourites. Love it.
Then I'm going to go with Sheffield Wednesday.
Okay, Wednesday. I think they have a strong season. Yeah.
And I think just because they're nasty bastards and they're just tin pot, they'll go up this year. Wickham.
Okay. You're not fancying your friend's club, Accrington Stanley, then?
Listen, I hope they get fucking relegated. I hope
I
he
bet
loses all
you
his
do.
money.
I bet you. I saw your little exchange today.
He's still going, little. Well, I can't say that because it's
Easy fella.
It's
But are you stupid? I like that comment. I was like, well, hey, I love it. Here we go. Okay.
I'm winding him up. He took it. He just he messaged Caden Jackson. So I said, "Oh, you're tapping up Caden Jackson, are you?"
I saw.
And he's like, "Oh, I wouldn't do that." I was like, "No, you just run off and cry to the FA, don't you?"
You're not still crying about that, Kally.
He's a little bitch, man. He's a little bitch, and every time I pop up on the timeline, I'll remind him that he's a little bitch. Right? I don't follow him. He just pops up in my timeline, so he gets reminded.
The bromance with you and Sam Morsey is so.
It's not even.
tight,
No, it's not even.
Literally, you're
Listen. Even if it was any player on that pitch, any Ipswich player on that pitch, any Ipswich player on that pitch, any Ipswich player on that pitch, you know, Matt Penny. If someone did that to Matt Penny, that's it. I'm backing it. Any player.
I will hold you to that next year when Matt Penny has his one and only game and something happens. I'll be like, Kally,
and if Andy Holt runs to the FA like a little bitch, I'll remind him of that.
We love Andy on the platform. He's been on.
You do. I don't. He's a bitch.
No, that's very true. Views are their own, not of the network.
Yeah, sorry.
Colin Plum, Ipswich Wednesday and Derby. Harry, Barnsley, Derby and Posh. Lee, not sure how we can say at this point in Derby's ahead of Burgess. But then I don't think Burgess fits the way we want to play football from the back three, Lee. Different Parry, but if in Derby's better, he's at least relegated to fifth choice. Craig, we need defenders that chip in with goals. Guys like Aidan Flint, just released by Cardiff. Josh,
but you talk about these players like Ndaba scored, and I know we're talking about League 2 and League 1. And
great finish, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he scored 2 now, and he scored even the second. He scored a second goal on the last game of the season as well, right? So he can do that. Yeah. And you've got to have the experience. That's why I think Colin said, and I've got to disagree with him, but like Colin said, Baggett and Ndaba on the same level. I disagree. Ndaba's ahead, right? Just because he's had a full season of men's football. Baggett's only ever played under 23 and half a dozen men's games.
I don't know. He bullied Matt Smith, to be fair.
But you're talking about 3 or 4 games, and anyone can look great for 3 or 4 games. Ndaba, he won Salford's Player of the Season. A lone player.
Aaron Drinnican.
Yeah, but there you go. My point is, Salford, he's won their Player of the Season, right? And he's gone there on loan. And he hasn't gone there with a fanfare. He's not come with any reputation. I don't even think he was guaranteed a starting space. So he's made a starting spot. True. He's made a thing for him. And the fans have seen something. So for me, he is he's ahead of Baggett. And okay. I think you'll see Burgess get sold.
All right. I love it. Robert Wilson's just turned up to the party, ladies and gentlemen, and turned the music down. Can't say he's top 3 until window unfolds. Robert, no one wants to hold you to it, Robert. Give us your top 3 for next year if the league started tomorrow. George, turn that music back up. What's your top 3? What's your early prediction?
I wrote down the same as Colin. Derby. So Ipswich, Sheffield Wednesday, and Derby. I think Derby's they're one of those that could go either way. But if they sort themselves out over the summer, I think they'll be tough.
Have they been bought out yet?
Not yet.
I think it's still on the precipice.
So,
but yeah,
if they're not bought out, then they're going to have like a bunch of youth players.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I mean. It's either going to be one extreme or the other. But I suspect it will probably go through. And if it does, then I think they'll be tough. I
remember Hull came down. They were supposed to be in 3-4 and disarray, and then Grant McCann turned it around in one summer, and back they went. Yeah, I do like that Derby shout, to be fair. I think it could go either way. Let me just look at let's just see what the odds are on the Derby. I know Wednesday are 6-1 to win the title. Derby are 9-1 to win the title. That's
worth a tenner.
That's worth a couple of quid. Both of those, to be fair. And equally, as Nick just says, they may go down. You could put a bet on for both.
Yep.
And the finish 11th.
Yeah, no, I think it's that extreme. But I think if they do sort themselves out, then
yeah, it is one of those sort of ones. Kally, you were a Warrior last year, home and away. The away league tables sort of I've seen it somewhere. what is it about our away following? We've not been in the playoffs once since coming down from League One. We've had one successful year, which was the playoff year, and we didn't even get to Wembley in the last 20 years. But yet we consistently and constantly take a large following away from home. What's all that about?
I think there's a couple of things. So first of all, this season, after COVID, everyone wants to get back out there, right?
True.
So there's that, right? We've had a year and a half of watching it behind on iFollow and whatever, and it's like, right, okay, want to get back in the stands. But the other thing is, Ipswich as a club, like, obviously I'm in the Midlands. You've got so many clubs around here. I'm here in Coventry. I can walk down the road. There could be a Villa fan, there could be a Wolves fan, there could be a Baggies fan, right? And then obviously the big Premier League club fans. In Suffolk, you literally get off that A14, and who else are you going to support? There is no other club in East Anglia. I don't know if I don't know if Cambridge classified all that. It ain't. Colchester's obviously Essex. There's no club in East Anglia apart from Ipswich. Obviously, you got the ones up the road or whatever, but I know George is laughing, thinking my geography's off, but we don't acknowledge them.
No, right? I was wondering if you were going to acknowledge the blatant.
They're not a club. Listen, someone put a stat up there today, and their highest attendance at home in the Premier League was less than our highest attendance in League One. They take Leicester Chelsea. They take Leicester Chelsea than we did to Crewe on a dead rubber game.
I'm pretty sure the capacity here is still less than ours, isn't it?
Yes. Look at that though, figure. Look at that, George. Though I mean, we're third in that table, taking a hell of a lot of fans, and I completely get what the King is saying there, and he's spot on. We are the only team literally in East Anglia, but we are also. Let's not pretend Suffolk is not it's not quite the back and beyond, but you can certainly see it from here.
It's a fucking pain.
Yeah, it's a long way from everywhere. Literally, going to Manchester, I'd rather rip my eyeballs out halfway through it there, because I was like, how much longer? So it's even more testament to how big of a fan base, I guess, or a club that we are, isn't it?
I think we've got quite a wide fan base as well. I think Kally's testament to that. There's a lot down west. There's a lot because of our previous successes. I think we've just got quite a broad area of fans, so it's probably easier to go away, particularly to the Midlands and places like that, for a lot of our fans. So yeah, I'm not surprised that we have such a big following. It's great though.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you speak to any of the players, one of the things they will say is they didn't realise how big the club is until they actually get here. They know about Ipswich, the history, this, that, and the other. Maybe maybe not the Sir Bobby stuff or whatever, because these players weren't around then or whatever. But certainly they'll probably know about the history from the 99s, 2000s, those kind of things. So when they get here, they're like, shit, I didn't realise how big it is. Certain players have said how they've played, at home or whatever in title-winning seasons, and just haven't had the same atmosphere that we've had. We took 8,000 to a fucking roundabout in Milton Keynes.
That's one of the more closer away games, to be fair. I mean, like Craig at Portsmouth here, I think sometimes it's underestimated how big our fan base is. It's a 3-hour journey for Craig every single home game, and he comes up even on a Tuesday night. That's madness, but also dedication personified. I love him. I think it's brilliant, but I also think it's a little bit mad.
But you almost go to being like a kid again, right? And it's like okay, we all work or whatever, so you might check your meetings, and now my meetings are now scheduled around, as soon as the fixture list comes out, they know that actually if there's a Tuesday game or something, then Kally's either doing this call from the car or we're doing it in the morning, right? Because come 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, I'm leaving Coventry, right? We're on the way to wherever we need to go. But it's, everywhere you go, you see people everywhere, home and away. It's always packed, right? I can't think of a time we've had a shit following, so to speak, or how we joke about teams coming with hardly any fans to ours sometimes. That's never been the case with Ipswich.
No.
The small grounds we constantly sell out. Even Oxford, the car park, we sold that out straight in minutes or whatever. And that's because even when results are going bad, and I think also the time of it as well. So remember, we've had Marcus Evans for so long, right? And it was just so painful. we usually in that championship season you're referring to, where we were in the playoffs. Our average attendance was about 15,500, 16,000, right? People didn't.
Yeah.
The football was poor, and yes, the football's been better here. The results haven't been as great, but it's that kind of renewed sense of optimism again. Like we got our club back. We've seen clubs all over the country over the last 20, 30 years or whatever, where people have been bought out. I remember us beating Man City. You know what I mean? I remember Man City going up second place and us going up in the playoffs, and then us staying and them getting relegated. And now they've won their 6th Premier League title, right? Obviously, ownership, all the rest of it, investment. We've seen Wolves do that. Leicester were the League One club. They've won the Premier League. Yeah, I never thought we would have owners where we're actually buying. Like, we've got proper owners where not a Marcus Evans owner who was like, look, I'm here for a little bit. I'm going to pretend to spend the money. They're actually spending money.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because it's an investment, as we're seeing in the chat from how big the fan base is. If you buy a club in League One for 50p, but if you get to the Premier League, it's going to be worth a fiver. You just got to try and spend money, yes, but make the investment not as much that's bigger than the overall value come the Premier League. George, look at these locations that we've got coming in the chat. Mike D is in North London. Nick Muller's a London Blue, near Preston for the Preston Pump. Jason Clayton, new owners, Ashton and friends have mended the fan connection. We've got Gloucester from Jason Clayton. We've got Kent from Paul.
We've got a lot of the West Country as well, haven't you?
Yeah, you got a 5-minute walk for Simon and Nikki, and then you got you, George, in deepest, darkest Norfolk.
Well, my dad's a 5-minute walk, so that counts. And my mum. Yeah. So I think going back to the point, I think if I was to guess, I reckon that owners must be more than pleasantly surprised by how the positive reaction to fans. I know we've always had a good away following, but the home following is where it's been hit when we've not had our best of times, and we're still not having our best of times. But you look at I'm amazed by how many season tickets have been sold for the season after the season that we've just had. And I know there's a lot of positivity and things around, but it's not like we can claim to being massively successful at the moment. But that's got to be a positive sign for the owners, because just imagine if we do start turning the corner properly and the results start going our way and we start winning, how quickly that stadium will fill every week and just be the fortress that it was, way too long ago now, but 20 plus years ago.
If we have a strong championship season, like not obviously next season League One, season after, if we have a strong championship season,
steady on, Cal.
We miss out or whatever. Say we miss out. Say, listen, we're going up. And then we'll probably finish 6th or 7th, right? Say we finish 7th, that following season, there'll probably be a waiting list for season tickets in the championship.
Can you imagine?
Like, I don't think there'll be a waiting list, because you can't have all your tickets on sale anyway, because you got to have some for general.
But Kally, your predictions, I've got less confidence in them, because you said we'd finish 4th. I don't think we even got anywhere near the sniffing 4th, let alone finishing it.
We were close to 4th, and if you run it back, I never committed to a year.
Oh, okay. The old Raheem Harper one. I like that one. I like it.
We will finish 4th in the championship.
At some point, yeah. I just think it's phenomenal that we are about 50. Let's just say 15% up on season ticket sales from last year already, George, and we finished freaking 11th. That's
a good effort.
Not normal.
It's a good effort.
It's just there's PR, there's buzz, there's selling the sand, selling the ice to the Eskimos, but you could do all of that as Mark Ashton.
But what PR like what PR has there really been? Like, Marcus Evans was the king of hollow PR, but it just doesn't feel like, apart from Ashton being on the show and having a couple of other interviews as well, there's not really been loads. It's just been signing good staff and starting to play good football, and other than that, just
normal.
Yeah,
it's normal. It's not Talking to Nate Normal.
The old stuff.
He epitomises the bloody Marcus
Hey,
Evans era.
this fella is the only manager that we've had that's got us close to sniffing a playoff place, my friend. So don't even bring blasphemy to my show. But what you can do is bring support to an ITFC run business. Away Day Beers, they need your support. You need beer. Everyone needs to win on this situation. Get on it. Beers.com. Lewis Robinson, the potential to expand the club across the southeast is huge. Norwich dominate the community for far too long. We're making investment while they make cutbacks. Potential. Lee Anderson, the football has been entertaining and the atmosphere has been great. Harry Butcher, as Lambert said once, this club takes off, it will go crazy. Gov with two heads. Yeah. Jordan, hey, hello, Jordan, hope you're well. Set that poster alight. We did do, Lee. We did. But I immortalized it. Jeremy, how you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, Martin. How are you?
Good man. I'm good. How's your summer going?
I've had my supper.
No, your summer.
Oh, my summer? Yeah, wonderful. Tipping it down there.
Yeah, it was today. As you've mentioned it, supper. What did you have for your tea, Jeremy?
Fish and chips, cotton chips.
Beautiful. If you're tuning in for the first time off the back of our Mark Ashton interview, this is what we do. We talk about dinner. That's what we do on this platform. Welcome in. Fish and chips.
Before I go any further, do you always mention Paul Lambert because it's got the same surname as you?
Possibly, Jeremy. I can't. Someone was thought it was my dad. Possibly, but I'm more interested in Jeremy in this fish and chips. Are you a cod or a haddock man? Because this is make or break for our friendship.
I'm a cod man.
Oh, Jeremy.
But I do like a bit of haddock occasionally.
Good man. You've saved yourself there, George. You a haddock or a cod man?
I can go either way, but you'd be surprised. I think I probably prefer a bit of haddock.
I do have a bit of rock occasionally.
Oh, yes, a bit of Rock Hill. Now we are talking.
Yeah.
Talking. In our series of who stays and who goes, we've got 3 players tonight. Let's start with somebody who's already been mentioned on the show. No, it's not Janoy Donatian. Kally, don't worry. Put your pitchfork away. It is Armando Dobra. Is he staying or going? What would you do with Dobra this year, Jeremy? Last year on loan at Colchester.
I'll give him another season out on loan and see how he copes out on loan and then go from there.
Kally, Dobra. Jeremy was sending back out on loan. Hang on, Kally. Before where on loan, Jeremy? Because obviously last year was League 2 at Colchester. Didn't exactly set the place alight. Would it be League 2 again? If so, what? Further than Colchester? What? North, south? What would you ideally like to send him on loan?
I'd send him to. Funny enough, give him a loan out to Exeter.
Okay, so
they're in the same division as us, but
okay. I get what you're saying. So you send him obviously much further than Colchester. Look to get him that development. Kally, Dobra, Jeremy would loan him. People in the chat are saying get rid. What are you saying?
It's a sticky one because he's still only 21, isn't he? So I think he just turned 21 this year.
Yeah.
For me, yeah, he's got to get some football in him, and that's the problem. He hasn't got any proper football in him. If he's gonna take the loan and take the opportunity like Ndaba did and go out your comfort zone, or Tyree Simpson, get out your comfort zone, go do your bit. You had Nidam on here, and he talked about when he was up in Scotland, he had to learn how to cook and do his washing and all that. Become a man or grow up or whatever, right? I think that's what's needed. But if he's just gonna end up going at Cole U again, what's the point? Or if he's just gonna sit here and play under 23s, then you're talking about a pathway of, potentially like some 17, 18-year-olds that could get into the team.
Yeah.
get rid. I know, like, yeah, 5 million a couple of years ago, allegedly Brighton were interested in him. So there is a player there, and when he has come on, you can see he's got some talent. He can shoot. He's good with the ball at his feet as well. He's got a bit of pace, but you need to get some football in you. So if he ain't getting a loan, if he ain't getting a proper loan next season, just sell him.
Well, that's a good point. Obviously, last week, George, sorry, this light is just still trying to fall over. George mentioned last week about development, and yeah, game time is great, but sometimes being around a good squad with great infrastructure, a good manager, a good teacher in McKenna can do more for you sometimes than just playing on a Saturday afternoon. So, in a way, is he not?
Gap. Nah, depends. I disagree with that. I did hit a point, and I have to disagree with that. Sorry, because okay, it depends on the gap that you're trying to bridge there in terms of the player and where they're at, and then getting them around the experience. If you're talking
100%.
about a 17-year, 18-year-old Liam Gibbs trying to break through to the team, having him around the first team and playing some under 23s football, because under 23s is still going to be a step up for him. So the football he's playing is still going to be a step up for him. At the moment, Ndarba's done under 23s, right? League Two football's more, a higher level than under 23s. He's done that as well. So for him to just sit around, yes, I get the idea in terms of we can't underestimate the coaching and the technique and George, I do agree with what you said in terms of there's a lot that goes on. Like when you're talking with the players after, there's a lot that they connect with and do their training and stuff like that. Like one of the things Sam did for Edwards. So one of the things Sam does a lot of times is like one of his coaches talks about, look at some of the players in your position, who are your best players, and you watch the videos and you see that. That's not the things you get told by, on the coaching field, but that's the things that you get it from people around in the dressing room. So that, Kyle's then taken that upon himself to look at certain players and base his game on certain things or whatever. So like there is that, but at the moment, because the only football he's then going to play is under 23s, that's a step back. He's already done at League Two. So for me, it is a case of if Ndaba is to progress, he's either got to be, Burgess has to go and he's here, right? Or he goes out on loan again. But I kind of agree with what Tuck said as well, whereas he's at an age now where maybe, for best for Ndaba thing is, find a permanent move elsewhere if it's not going to be here and if Burgess is going to be a blocker.
Okay. Kally loves his defenders. Keeps bringing it back to the defenders. He absolutely loves them.
Defenders are key, mate.
They
Strikers get all the money. Strikers get all the plaudit and all the rest of it, and that's cool. And you just send Mbappe just get 300 million just to sign his name.
There you go.
And I heard the reason that got signed straight away is because apparently Ashton is going to Paris next week. And they were worried, and Killian's talked about linking up with like Sam and Wes Burns was going to be a dream for him, but it is what it is.
All right, Jeremy. Before I let you go, Spurs St. Selena, in one word, yes or no, would you bring him back next year?
No.
All right, elaborate. Why not?
But before I go, just another shout out for my barbecue on Thursday, the 2nd of June, with a small fee of £5 for adults, and if there's anyone with children, it's £3 for the children.
Okay.
Half the proceeds are going towards Parkinson's UK, which is close to my heart.
Oh, Jeremy, that is a great thing you're doing there. So next Thursday, the 2nd of June, £5 for adults, £3 for children. What time would it all kick off, Jez?
It's from 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. Good man.
To 5 o'clock.
If you're interested, Jeremy is on Facebook, he's on social media. Get involved. Come through me. Email me, Twitter me, whatever, and we'll get that sorted out. But next Thursday, 2nd of June, Jeremy, you are a hero. Well done.
Thank you.
Look after yourself. Enjoy it. Do love a good barbecue, me. I might pop along. What's your go-to barbecue dish, Kally, if you're going to be doing a barbecue?
See, I discovered a new one during lockdown.
Oh, okay.
Tikka salmon. Salmon tikka. Salmon tikka. Off.
George is a bit of a cook. George, if you were doing a barbecue
I'd
like
be all
Jeremy,
over a bit of salmon tikka.
Oh, it's brilliant. The Greek yogurt, marinate at least 45 minutes to an hour, right? And make sure you got a good amount of Greek yogurt on there. That is the obviously you rest of your spices and everything as well.
That's me. That'll do me.
Oh, there we go. Moving it on. Your mate, George, Lee Evans. Stay or go? I know you like Lee.
I'm probably going to say the
sure
same
he's
thing
lovely.
as George.
I'm sure he's lovely. He just hasn't endeared himself. Nothing. I'm not going to say go because I don't know that he's necessarily on the chopping block. But I feel like his
start
position
or
is
not start.
For me,
That's
yeah. For me, I wouldn't start him based on who we ended the season with in our squad, and I think that his position will be one that we, as I said last week, it wouldn't surprise me at all if we are looking to fill that position because I think Morsey's quality dips when Evans is in the team because I think he covers too much for Lee Evans. Is just how it feels to me. We don't see the best of Morsey when Lee Evans is playing.
So you wouldn't start him. You don't see the best in. Is he pedestrian? Is he too pedestrian to play in the midfield with Morsey? What happens, George? Before I allow Kally to sort of come on into it. Why don't we see the best of Morsey with Evans? What about Evans?
I don't know because I've said before. I think like the frustrating thing for me is that he has one like absolute worldy pass, and then you might as well take him off, and that's really frustrating because I know he can do it, and he must know he can do it. So just do it, and just I think consistency is Evans' thing for me. I just think he's just too inconsistent, and it's simple as that, really. I think that is definitely a position that I'd be looking to recruit in.
First time was last week. Second time is this week. Jordan, welcome back, my man. How are you?
Hey guys, you alright? How are you?
Once you bite the old talking town pie, you can't stop coming back, mate. Here
Absolutely, it's addictive, isn't it?
Certainly is. Lee Evans, would you start him? Would you not start him?
Oh,
Where
mate,
are you
honestly,
on the comedian?
It's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, the first time I saw him shine was the hat trick.
Yeah,
you know, that was 6-0. And
when was the second time you saw him shine? Out of curiosity.
I got one. That crew goal I was talking about earlier, he's the one that pings it to JD from 40 yards. But
that's his one Hollywood.
But that's exactly what you're saying. He's got the Hollywood pass, and that's it.
I think
I'm struggling for a third.
I think a lot of the things that with the Ipswich squad at the moment is a lot of things that people do in the team underrated and not seen so much. You know, I'm not back in the day. Things like Matt Richards. You know, things where people were really digging in and doing their work, but not getting the recognition for it. I'm not, I don't know. I don't think Lee Evans was ever in turn. I don't think he ever played badly, but he was never a standout player apart from the Doncaster game. That's how I see it. Morsey, it's a completely different story.
He's shit. Get rid of him.
Go on, Kally. Evans, does he? Is he Morsey's best partner? Because
no.
You could argue we missed him towards the back end of last year. Are we creating? Well, I don't think we missed him. I'm saying
why did we miss him? As in, why was he not playing?
Than Backinson.
No, why was he not playing?
He was injured.
Okay, so what do you always say? Your best
ability is availability. Yeah,
there you go. So he's not hit the heights that I had expected. I saw him play when he's played for Wolves, and he did quite well in their centre midfielder. He did well at Wigan, but he's not hit the same heights. Whether it's the injuries or whatever, is he a good squad player? Yes, but And it's like our squad from the last couple of years. We've stepped up a level, obviously, right? So everyone's up and upgrade in each position, right? You know, your Luke Chambers, right, gets upgraded, right? You got from Thomas Holy to Christian Walton. There's an upgrade, right? So all we've done is we've then just upgraded that squad player for me in terms of John Nolan into Lee Evans. So Lee Evans is this level's John Nolan for me. And that's no disrespect. Like I think, and I remember when Nunny said it first time on the show, it might have been after the Sheffield Wednesday away game when he said about the Hollywood pass. That's his one trick pony, and that made me think. And then I was consciously then watching, and I was just like, you know what? He's spot on. It is a one trick pony. He does that. He does like to get stuck in. And I think when because we was a bit light in midfield and we had too much of these kind of technical players, we didn't have anyone that really did kind of dive into a tackle. So that kind of, apart from obviously Sam, but that kind of stood out for you a little bit. But nah, for me, if you're going to keep Harper, bring in Backinson as well, then them two are competing as you kind of, you know, your second team, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
I don't see Lee Evans being. We need someone who's going to be a permanent starter to sit with Sam. It's someone that does. And hear me out. We're missing a Scouse. No, listen. Hear me out. It's doing.
No, I can't. No.
I thought you were going to say skulls. I was like, yeah, we are.
No.
We are missing the Paul Scholes. Yeah.
What I mean by a Cole, I'm not talking about a Cole Scouse that I remember a couple of years ago in League One. I'm talking when he first come to us and he was a quality championship player. Forget the fact that he only scored one goal, right? But his job on the pitch was to break up play, to keep it moving, to do the simple things, to keep the ball ticking over, right? And he actually kept possession in a team that was not a possession team. We were a hoof-it team under Mick, right? So it is that kind of person that's just going to do that. That will then allow the midfield partner to make that run, whether it's Morsey or whoever. That will allow your kind of wingers and your strikers to make them runs as well. So, you know, you need that type of player. And the lad who's just been released by West Brom, he looks a good shout. You got the lad from Plymouth as well. He looks a good shout. So them two, for me, if we got either one of them, they go in as starter next to Sam, if Sam's still here. Do you know what I mean?
Lee Anderson says he's injured because of a booper ball from Morsey.
No. Leander, just chill. Look, go. You know, if he wants, he can go to Tranmere with bloody Norwood with his fucking nose.
Lewis Robinson. Evans has a lot of things that go unnoticed. Need him next season. Will Humberson have
But
Sawyers, though?
He won't. But the problem is, you're going to say you need him. And when you need him, he's going to be injured. Right?
You see, I wouldn't play him because I think Morsey needs to play in that holding role. As the Fisherman says, he's a defensive midfield player. Let him play to his strengths. And I'd bring in a player that's going to be that box to box. That's what I would personally do. Jordan, before I let you go, what would you do at that midfield? Would you revert Morsey back to his holding role?
Well, first of all, Morsey has that position. Morsey is captain. He is simply the centre of our team, unless things are going to change. But what I would really like to see is, unless McKenna's got an idea of a player that he wants to bring in to be partner with Morsey, then he needs to look at the team we've got currently with the youngsters and adapt, like he has done with Wolverton. I mean, let's face it. Wolverton was pretty much under Cook was not really in the squad, was he? You know, and under McKenna, he's rebuilt him into a really confident player. That, and we need to be. We'll be lucky if we keep hold of him. You know, he's so young, and what I want to see is more of that. That's back. Gov, you're my age, mate. You know, we back in the Coochie days.
Yes,
you know,
mate.
Remember all the youngsters that was coming through the squad, Darren Ben, all them days. You know.
Yeah, but Wolfie is the last. Yeah. You're right. Wolfie is the last academy. Like you said, because that playoff season is probably my favourite season ever of being a Town fan. You had Richard Wright, you had Titus Bramble, you had Darren Bent, even Bam Bam, you had Darren Ambrose then come through, you know. Then you had what's his face, you know, later down the line you had your Wickhams, you know,
Yeah.
Connor Wickham and stuff like
Yeah,
that. But then
yeah.
it kind of dried up.
But
And
then
at the moment,
we let Wickham go for like nothing, didn't we?
nah, we got good money for him.
Did
We
we?
got good
did,
money.
yeah, 6
Yeah,
million.
we
Was
got
it
back.
Yeah.
Who
We're
was it
talking-
we
we're
got
talking about-
nothing for? Oh, it was Rhodes, wasn't it? Rhodes.
Rhodes went
Yeah,
for
more or
nothing.
less.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Keane didn't want. Keane
Sorry,
didn't
yeah,
want
my
him.
mistake. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
We could write a book on all of
Oh,
this, but
yeah.
Oh, Dean Bodwich.
Bodic, right.
He scored a great goal.
Jordan, it's great having you on again, my man. Look after
Always.
yourself and loving the wall as always. Loving
Always.
the
See you again
wall.
soon, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Good
Bye-bye.
man.
See you later, brother.
Last player before we bring the goat in on our stay or go. It's breaking my heart to say this name, Raheem Harper. Is he going to stay? Should he go? What's the situation going to be with Raheem, George?
Good God. I think we keep him. I think he sticks around. I think as Kally said, I think if I wouldn't be disappointed if we kept him and signed Backinson. We didn't see enough of him. He didn't have enough of a chance. He certainly didn't have enough of a chance playing under McKenna. And you could argue the same for Evans, to be fair. But I think, yeah, I'd like to see him back and see if some of the hype that was around him last summer was worth it.
Could you argue though? Sorry,
Sorry.
hang on, Kate. Could you argue though, George, if you kept, and this is me saying this now, and I love Raheem, if you keep Raheem, you're creating a bit of a backlog issue here because you've just said you're not going to start Lee Evans. Raheem Harper's not going to start. That's 2 backups. You've got Idris still here. That's 3. You're going to bring somebody in, I imagine, to start with Morsey. Is there a position here for him, Kally, really, with that logic?
Yeah, 100%. I think, look, what you've seen of Backinson in the latter part of the season, and we've seen him grow as a player, there's no reason Raheem couldn't be doing that, right? They're both, in terms of, you know, McKenna. Well, no, McKenna talks about profiles of these players. You know, when they talked about Backinson coming in, they talked about all his profiles and what he is. I had to read the name again because I thought, is this not an article about Raheem Harper? Because it's the same quality, he's the same type of player. The problem for Raheem is he come in, got given the number 4, and it was like, you know, you're going to be a CDM. He's not a CDM. He's probably a box-to-box midfielder or a number 8, right? Possibly an 8 or a 10, right? That's probably where he is. I wouldn't necessarily have him as a 10, but certainly as backup, I would love next season our midfield to be Sam starting with someone coming in, either the Plymouth lad or the West Brom lad, right? And then Backinson and Harper as your covers, right? And then El Miz is there and thereabouts. He can come for cup games because I want us to have a good cup runs as well, even if it's the Kebab Cup and whatever, and the Pizza Trophy or whatever it is, right? I want us to have a good cup run. I want us just to get some more football. At least these players that we're talking about developing, they get more football in under their thing. I remember when we got all happy when was it our first season in League One when we played in it wasn't called Papa John's then, it was called something else, wasn't it? LDV or I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
But we got knocked out to Crawley, but we got through the stages and there was a bit of a hype. It was like, oh, look, our young lads are playing against Crawley. We lost in the end, but they did all right. You know, the young players did all right, got a cup game, and they got that experience. We've got to just like, yeah, that's my backup. It's Harper and Backinson, with someone coming in, and unfortunately, I don't see Evans here.
Oh, okay, right. You don't see it. That's fair. That's fair. I love Harper as a player. Last year, I thought he would be tremendous. Didn't quite work out for him. Away day beers. Harper, the pre-season under KM is a must. Owen, at his age, with his pedigree, I think keep him, give him a chance in the squad. Go on.
Ando's comment there, right? So he goes, Evans is mile ahead of Harper and Backinson, right? You can't say that about Harper because you haven't seen Harper in a McKenna team.
No, but I think currently he is. Currently,
no. I think he is based on what he's done in the game. If you look at his performances for Ipswich, Lee Evans, right? Where can I was trying to give you 2 or 3 examples of where, yeah, he's played well, and I'm struggling, right? He's got. You know, George hit it on the head. He's got that. He can pass a ball. I'm sure we can find a player that can pass a ball. It's about upgrading because if Lee Evans is your starter at the moment with Morsey, you need to upgrade that position. And
I
you
agree.
need to upgrade. And
I agree.
Evans goes out. Evans, he's at age. He's not going to sit on the bench, is he? So we want to go.
He's 27, and he should be miles ahead at 27 over Raheem at 22. George, he's got 5 more years of experience on him.
Yeah, and this comes back to that development thing. Sitting on the bench does Lee Evans no good. Like everyone develops differently and has different needs for development, as I said to you the other day. And
he needs to play
sitting on the bench at 27, 28, even 26 doesn't do you any good. You've been in and around a first team squad at that point, so there's no benefit from it for you. So yeah, if I was Lee Evans and wasn't being guaranteed that starting place, then I'd be looking to move on, because he's just about in his prime as a midfielder. So he needs to be playing football. But I don't agree with Lee there, and I think Backinson would have been really hard done by if Evans had found himself fit at the end of the season. And
hold that thought. Hold that thought, because here he is.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Where's my ice cream?
I'll get you on at the start of the season, mate. There's no doubt. I'll swap it for a samosa.
The boys don't agree with you, deal. Lee. The boys don't agree with
you. There's plenty of people in the chat that do, I think. Well, he's miles ahead of Harper. Miles ahead. And if you're... the bit I agree with, if you're going to bring somebody in, it's got to be better than you've already got from your starting 11. Your starting 11, at the moment, for me, in those two positions, would be Morsey and Evans. They're the best two. Backinson is hot and cold. Gives the ball away too many times. Frightens the life out.
I think he just takes the risk.
No, they're not risks.
The problem is, but Evans is the same thing. You talk about that. Look, if you watch the tapes back from the beginning of the season, Evans was doing the same thing apart from that one pass he picks out. Right? I can give you 1,000 examples of Evans.
That was when he was playing next to Harper. So when Morsey came in, Evans got a lot of stick. A lot of stick from players.
He was bloody so that pass in the early stages of the campaign was criminal.
Well, of course he does, and he's just been a scapegoat like Penny. But until he got injured, he was until he got to that time shit. When he's not. He's just not. That's ridiculous.
That word. Hang on, Lee. $8.99 from Ashley Harris. We love you, Ashley. Thank you, brother. Content has been amazing. I think it's been a major factor in having the feel good factor at the club. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Ashley. We appreciate that sort of support. Lee, you brought $8.99 with you, look.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right.
The well was dry.
That's the most anybody's ever paid for me. By about $8.98.
The thing is, I get what Lee's saying, because in the brief times we've seen Raheem last year, it wasn't great. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't the player I saw in early pre-season. But then, Lee, the team wasn't great at that point of the campaign. Nope. Like you can't. It'd be really harsh to say it was all Raheem's fault, and that was the player that we've ultimately got, right?
Well, absolutely. I'm not saying that. I mean, he played the best I saw him play was away at Lincoln. He was
brilliant then. He was brilliant.
And then you're thinking, well, we signed him. He's played a holding midfielder. Then he was attacking midfielder. Now he's come on with 10 minutes to go as a number 10, and he's driving forward. What is his best position? I don't think
box to box.
He is sort of box to box, but I'm not sure how that box to box. I don't know. I don't see how he fits in, but him and Backinson are behind Harper. Behind Evans, without doubt. We need to bring someone better than what we've already got. The players that come in have to be better than our starting 11. Otherwise, the club doesn't evolve.
So for me, that's the point we were making, right? Which is bring someone in to replace Evans, but keep the other two.
Would you?
Evans is an older player. No, but he's an older player who's more injury prone, right? He's picked a shitload of injuries this season, right? He's 27, going to be 28. You've got Harper and Backinson. Backinson's not even in the door, but let's say we have Backinson as well, right? Them two are players that will develop, and we've seen what McKenna's done for Backinson. Hopefully, he can do the same for Harper at a young age. I think they're better options as a backup than Lee Evans, who, yes, I get what you're saying to a point in terms of maybe the quality is slightly better from Lee Evans, but Lee, just because he's got the same name as you doesn't mean that he's a good footballer.
We haven't got time to develop these players. We need 15 or 16 players that are going to be first team starters.
And do you
expect going to get us out of League One?
Lee Evans will not be playing.
Keep Backinson, and Harper goes.
Would
Keep
you
Backinson
not?
up. Sorry.
Would you not bring in would you not bring in Backinson, bring in a centre midfielder that's going to start with Morsey, and then have a Backinson and Evans as your two backups, and then reloan Harper and Elmiz out to somebody? Because that way, in my world, if you get an injury to, say, Sam Morsey, you've got two players in Evans and Backinson who can come in at a pinch. But more importantly, you're still getting the loan time and the playing time into Harper and into Elmiz. So in 12 months' time, you know where you are in terms of league position, but more importantly, you know where you are in terms of the players you've got at your disposal. You know, there's no need to make an instant decision, I guess, on Raheem Harper-Lee and say, right, wasn't great when he was here, didn't set the world like a crew, out the door you go. We could loan him back out and give him a proper opportunity that's not crew. No disrespect to crew, they weren't great. It was it wasn't the greatest opportunity to walk into, I'd bet. There's a player there, and why not Backinson as a backup? That's a fairly cheap signing for a depth piece, isn't it?
If I would think if Backinson was coming, he'd be here by now because he's free. So I maybe not. I don't know, but I agree. I put in the chat keep Harper because he's young and stuff, but he's not ahead of Evans. You don't keep Harper and get rid of Evans.
Available,
you need we need Evans,
but you can't say
as a backup. Because
Lee, sorry to interrupt. The point I was trying to make is when we've needed him this season, he's fucking injured.
All players going to get injured. All players going to get injured. We needed Sam Morsey.
I didn't see Harper get injured.
And he was suspended. Morsey was suspended. We needed Morsey.
Morsey was only suspended because
but he was. Because
of a Tim Pot owner.
Yeah, but
nobody was.
All right, boys,
he can't injured.
Boys, with the injuries,
players get injured.
He's 27. He ain't 33. If he was 30, if he was Sam Morsey's age with and getting injuries, I'd be concerned, Kally, because Sam's 31 and I'm 32, and I know how the body feels when it gets an injury. Not that I'm saying Sam Morsey's the same level of fitness that I am.
I think Sam Morsey's a bit more of an athlete, to be fair.
Lee, you've broken my heart on a Monday night.
I need to tell the truth.
Yeah, no. You mean Sam doesn't live off kebabs and Chinese takeaways? Nonsense, Lee. Nonsense.
Well, the kebabs are healthy as long as they're chicken and lean meat.
That's very true.
Because they're salad and stuff, aren't they?
True.
As long as you don't eat that horrible doner meat.
Ashley both made a couple of great comments, Lee. I just want to turn our attention now to Kally because he did say he had a couple of transfer room stuff.
I said,
what's all this nonsense you were spouting?
I said there's some players that may or may not be on the dashboard. I've talked about two of them already. Right?
Who's on the dashboard then, Kally?
The two midfielders I've mentioned already may or may not be on the dashboard. We don't want to get sued out here, yeah. So we say may or may not. Not Backinson. Backinson's people know that, right? The Plymouth one and the West Brom one.
Romain Sawyers?
Yeah.
Ooh.
The one that was released?
Yeah.
Yeah. 30-year-old or whatever.
I know a bit of Romain Sawyers in my midfield.
Matete's not going to come. He's a championship player now.
Yeah, he is, yeah. Anybody else on that dashboard? May or may not be on that dashboard, Kally?
The Plymouth one, centre midfielder.
Is it a small dashboard, Kally? Is there any space for two players?
No, but I don't listen. I can't say too much because I get in trouble.
Sounds like the Skoda dashboard to me.
Yeah, it does. So your thumbs on Twitter were tweeting bigger words than your.
No, I said may or may not. That's all I said. I've mentioned two. The third, I think people will know anyway. As a striker,
may or may not know.
May or may not know. He's a Peterborough striker.
Ooh.
Not been talked about at the moment.
Jack Marriott.
Not that one.
I wouldn't mind Marriott back, to be fair.
But he does his first initial starts with the same letter.
Yeah. Rhymes with Park Paris.
Something like that.
Yeah. Oh, may or may not. May or may not.
I can give you some definitive things around Sam if you want on that.
Go on then.
So, definitively, I know people are talking about Sam's going to be here, blah, blah, blah. Bottom line is, club have not offered a contract. So, okay, he's under contract for 2 years, and I know people will say, "Oh, well, people have to pay big bucks or whatever." The reality is, the transfer fees aren't going to be what you think they will be. And bottom line is, if another club comes in and offers a 3-year deal or a 4-year deal when he's 30, 31, that's where he'll want to go. But he's not at any time said he wants to leave. He loves it in Ipswich. He's the one that says every game, "Oh my God, the fans! I can't believe how many fans we get. This club is so much bigger than I've ever seen." He's settled here. His missus loves it in Suffolk or whatever, and they're well happy here. But obviously, if Ashton wants him there, then you tie him down. You tie your best players down. So you've tied down Wolfie, you've tied down Burns, you've given Jackson a contract. It would make sense now to tie down your captain down, unless Ashton is looking at it as a point of view as we can make some money off Sam Morsey, because he talks about, well, any cash injection into the club, because who else are you selling and making money or getting any money?
If he's 30, Kally, how much are you really going to get for him? Let's be honest. Let's be real.
Couple of 100K. And that's what I mean. People say, "Oh, we're going to say 5 million," right? I reckon half. If someone comes in with
million, behave.
That's what I mean. If someone comes in with 500,000, right? Ipswich would accept that, guaranteed. So all this talk about, yes, Sam's, we're going to have Morsey here, we're going to have Morsey here. You can't guarantee it. You absolutely can't guarantee it. Sam, bottom line is, and I can read it from his bloody mouth if you want, right? Let's see if he answers.
Hey, you do what you do what you need to do, Kally, mate. No, don't let me stop you, brother. You know, you lift that lid.
Bottom line is, he's happy here. He wants to stay here, right? And he's not there. It's not about money. It's not about someone saying, "Oh, well, Wigan could offer, I don't know, 30-40% more than what he'd get offered here." It ain't about that, because the reality is you're talking 30-40%. We're not talking Mbappe money. You know what I mean? So that 30-40%, okay, it would be nice and everything, but if you offer an extra deal here, he loves coaching for McKenna. That's why I laughed when there was that rumor on Twitter, and I rang him up. I was like, "Where's this come from?" And he was just laughing, and it was just like he actually enjoys coaching under McKenna, and he says like the whole setup really good. The project's there. He gets on well with Ashton and then O'Leary and all the American owners and that. He loves the club. He's bought into this whole project thing. And you see it, like, for him, he wants more champions as well. Like, we've got to be winners. We've got to go up as winners. And that's the kind of levels he demands. If he goes, it's going to cost you more than if we take 500,000 for him, it's going to cost you well more than 500,000 to replace him. And
Lewis, Kally, you need to start picking up the tab when you go out with him to convince him to stay.
No, listen.
I think there's one more thing to consider with Morsey here, is that he's in the Egyptian prelim squad, isn't he? If we sign him, he's our player. But if he's still here next season, we're going to miss him. We could potentially miss him because he could be off to the World Cup. And our games...
No, they weren't. They're not in the World Cup.
I thought they were in the World Cup,
Egypt didn't qualify.
They didn't qualify. It was Senegal, I think, in the end.
Senegal got it. So Egypt did not qualify for the World Cup. So
because it was Mane versus Salah, wasn't it? And
he would miss. Remember this is prelim, not final squad, right? So he would potentially miss a couple of. When you get the international call-ups, you might get one or two of them games that he might miss or whatever if he's in that. It's not going to be World Cup. He's here.
He wouldn't get back in the team if he did, because Raheem Harper would come back in and just steal the shirt and never give it back, He
wants to stay. The bottom line is he loves Ipswich. His exact words were, "I've been blown away by the support." Right? He goes, the support of this club. He goes, "You follow us all over the country." He goes, "Ipswich is in the middle of nowhere, far from everywhere, and people are doing." I mean, I go to a lot of the away games. I think I went to most of them, by about 3 of them, right? Including bloody a trip to Barrow and Oldham. But I'm going from the Midlands and it's a lot easier. Crunch was there and Matt Stannard were there with us at Barrow. And they travelled from Ipswich to Barrow. And that was a fucking long trip. I can guarantee that.
It takes me 2.5 hours to get out of East Anglia.
And likewise,
it takes me less to get home from the ground. I can get, after a Saturday game, I can probably get home in about 2:20. So it ain't too bad. But like I said, he is bought into this project of what the club is. And I guarantee if Ashton turned around tomorrow, rang up Sam and said, "Sam, here's a contract for you. Here's the extension. Will you sign it?" There would be no hesitation. It'd be like, okay, "Yes, absolutely. I want to do it." But until that's signed, you just don't know.
Look at this. Look, You thought you were tuning into Talking Town, the fans platform for fans by fans. Instead, we've got Kally Bisla, Sam Morsey's agent. Lee Anderson, we love you.
Cheers,
we
guys.
appreciate you. Look after yourselves.
See you later,
Colin, last word to yourself. Before I come to you, we've got Hawks. You lose Morsey. You don't lose the player. You lose a captain who sets the standards for the culture around the club. Harder to replace some of our best quality players. And Lee said, I think it would be stupid to let him go. Money isn't an issue. He's our pivotal man in midfield, and captain, you don't let them sort go. Colin, what about you? What do you think about the Sam Morsey stuff that Kally's just been laying it all down for us?
I don't even need to think about it, Gov, whatsoever. Those kind of players, they just don't grow on trees. You sign them up, you get them tied down, bang, finished with. You know, I have. It's a no-brainer, Gov, and yeah. I mean, I spoke to him with Rich for about 10 minutes odd, and he came across such a good person, such a good leader, such a good understanding of the fans, the club, and everything else. Would you ever want to lose that? No, absolutely not. I'd tie him down.
Fishermen don't think it's an issue, but then again, Mike's view's only from the iFollow stand, so he doesn't see it.
Easy now, boys. But Mike does say, George, players come and go, and losing Morsey wouldn't be a disaster. I see his train of thought there. Players do come and go. Would it be a huge disaster as Colin and Hawks and Co have made it out to be?
I don't think it would be a disaster, but I don't want to lose Morsey. I think I said last week it wouldn't surprise me if his head was turned because of his age and because of contract situation, as Kally's highlighted, and because in all likelihood it would be a team in the league above that would be looking at him. So, I wouldn't begrudge
4
him.
teams in the league above.
Exactly, and it wouldn't begrudge. I wouldn't begrudge him that decision, whether we are likely to offer him the length of contract that he might want, but on the money that he might want. I don't know. I have no interest in Morsey leaving, but I think.
And let's be honest, George, he didn't come down here for an extended stay in League One, did he? He came down thinking it'd be a 12-month. 12-month holiday.
But he's probably not alone in that. But he's probably not alone in that, right? That's the project.
Chaplin, another one.
Exactly.
But the thing is like.
Right. So, I don't think it would be a disaster. I think he would be difficult to replace, but I don't think it would be a complete disaster. But I hope he stays.
I'm going to go on record here saying, right, and you can say, oh yeah, because it's your pal or whatever. But if Sam was to leave this summer, we don't get promoted, because I don't know who you bring it. Because it's not just about, oh, you need a player with these attributes and this ability. Sam sets the standards. Like I said, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, right, in terms of getting the players, getting them to buy into things. You don't have many leaders in that dressing room. It's a young squad, right? So you need the right leaders. Sam's got, championship. He's won medals. He's got, League One title in there and all the rest of it as well. It's not like his head has been turned, because his head hasn't been turned by, oh, I want to go to the championship. I want to do that, because he firmly believes that, if he's here this summer and next season and we get the right signings, we go up as champions. He's talked about, we will be battling, pushing for Premier League soon. He'd like to have if he had 3 years left on his deal, in an ideal world, that 3rd year, he's hoping we're at least challenging to get into the Premier League or whatever, right? So there is that kind of, and you see it with McKenna and the setup. The coaching setup's completely different to Cookie, right? There are, there's lots of stuff that happen behind the scenes with Cookie or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, you've got a kind of a big club here, big fan base, and I know it's a bit cliche, but we are a sleeping giant. So to be a part of that, and to be the captain that takes them up and to their rightful place, but hopefully to the Premier League or whatever like that, that's appealing more than, okay, I might go to Wigan or the other. I can't mention the other clubs, but the other clubs or whatever, right? It's way more appealing than that.
He nearly did. Right, last 5 minutes of the show before we wrap it up. Colin, I want to ask you 2 things. First of all, Wagatha Christie, are you keeping your eyes on the trial that is Rebecca Vardy versus Colleen Rooney?
No. No. It absolutely sickens me, to be honest.
You're watching the Amber Heard one.
Sorry, Kally?
We're all watching that one, Kally.
Amber Heard, Johnny Depp.
Another thing is, because my barbers don't do newspapers anymore, I've had to start buying them for my birds to shit on. So I've got 14 left backs Ipswich Town could sign here. I'm going to give you in each one of them. I want you to tell me yes or no and why you have come to that answer. Colin, I'm going to give you this one here. Quite easy. Robbie Brady, ex-Norwich, had a few problems with his Achilles over the last few years, but he obviously played for Ireland, Hull, Norwich, and Burnley. Robbie Brady, yes or no, and why?
Injury prone.
Correct.
I wouldn't put the Norwich thing into it, because if somebody said to me, would you take Max Aarons like tomorrow, you take him. So that doesn't come into it. Injury prone, no. Is he a good player when he's fit? Yes, he is. But no.
Okay, no for you.
I just don't think it'd work personally.
Okay, Kally, I'm going to go for Callum O'Dowda, a 27-year-old who was at Bristol City and Oxford. He made a 1.25 million step up from League Two in 2016. Been released by Bristol City. Yes, no. And why would you say yes or no?
No, because he's not on the dashboard.
No, because he's. There you go. I'll put a big red X next to that name, then, son. Right, not on the dashboard.
I don't know. Disclaimer: I don't know.
Fair enough. Mark Dowling, Robbie Brady, if in a heartbeat, if fit. The Fishman will 100% take him. Stephen Parry, yes, a very good driving left side.
Well, hold on. We found a player that Fisherman would like.
Possibly.
Only until he's here.
Oh yeah.
Hang on.
Once he's signed, then it's.
We are miles from getting anywhere near the top of the championship, and I'd be shocked if one or two players that are here will be anywhere near a team who gets promoted to the Premier League if we do.
So
well, I'm sure.
And Connor Cody in League One.
Chris Basham for Sheffield United,
and then Premier League
went all the way with them. Some players do it, and Burnley had a couple. George, I'm going to give you George Nurse, just because his name's George.
I don't know who he is.
Not quite able to break into Bristol City's first team. Played left midfield. He shackled Wes Burns.
Yep. Well,
yes or no?
Based on that,
yes.
how old is he?
Say yes.
Well, I don't know, because the newspaper didn't include his. Oh, he's 23.
20, yeah. He's going to be 24.
Yeah, sounds about the right age. I know nothing about him, but he's got good pedigree in terms of his name.
Like Luke Garbett. You know how Garbett was a left winger, then kind of become like a left wing back.
Would you take Garbett back?
That's what Nurse has been done. Who, me?
All of you. Luke Garbett. Would you take Luke Garbett back?
I mean, as long as he had been injured, I don't see why not, because he's a good option.
Yeah.
When we had him.
Is he not just Matt Petty, but a bit better? Because he can't defend Luke Garbett, Colin, from what I can remember.
I think that's
Luke Garbett okay when he was here before, but when I say him there, no, absolutely not.
Remember, a defensive. If you're going to play him as that left wing back, not the centre back, but your left wing back, like Wesley Burns, getting forward, you want that same thing on the left hand side and the right hand side. You've got a player that can whip the ball in, run, dribble, and shoot and score. So you've got that balance there. If his weakness then is that he's not the greatest defender, well, that's what Ndaba or Frisch is there to do cover for him.
Okay. Nicky Cadden, Colin. Yes or no?
At the Forest Green one.
Forest Green. Just been named in the League Two Team of the Year. 12 goals, 3 assists last year. Forest Green League 2.
I think, there's potential there.
Left-sided position is the number one priority for Town this summer, or is the striker the number one? Because there's only 2 or 3 positions, unlike last year. But is the left side a big priority and the main priority?
The left-sided position is a priority, and so is the main striker.
What's your number one priority?
Yeah.
What's your number one?
Look, I'm not going to change my mind If we got a certain kind of player, I'd be all over it like a rash. But I'm not going to say no names. But the one player I would say is, like Kally said earlier, I'd take Clark Harris in a heartbeat. Because
not going to name any names.
I was going to say not naming any names.
Not naming any names.
No.
Here's a name.
Gov. No, I meant one that was in my head. But Clark Harris I've mentioned loads of times before. But I mean, obviously there's a player in League One that we'd all love, and if that player who plays for another League One club came to Ipswich Town, I would put 50 quid tomorrow on us winning the league, without no shadow of a doubt.
And if we play for MK Dons,
yep.
Yeah, thought so.
Okay.
Still not mention his name.
Colin, we love you. Look after yourself. All the best, my mate. We're going to wrap up in just a second. It's content on a Monday. My Christ, we are pulling out some content out of absolutely nowhere, boys and girls. I love it.
It's the last Monday, isn't it? Before you're finishing, so you got to go with the bank.
Well, only for a week. I mean,
what the fuck are we going to do for a week, man?
I don't know. Well,
is there anything else on YouTube?
I hope not, but I'm going to put my feet up and see what's on the TV. Actually, going to put my big TV on for once. As we go, Kally, one player you would sign, and why, please?
One player I would sign.
Yep.
I'm going to go with what Colin said.
Is that
Clark?
On a scale of one,
because Colin said it.
On a scale of 1 being unlikely and 10 being he's already on the way. Where is that? What was your feeling on that one then?
On Clark Harris? I don't know. I mean, if I'd pick a random number, I'd say it's about a 6, isn't it? Maybe a 7.
Well, that's better than I thought I would have put it as.
If I would have to take a wild guess, I don't know. Right, I would guess that Ashton's made some inquiries with the club. They figured out how much is it got there. They figured the club likes an asset that we like, that we've got. Bit of negotiation, a bit of back and forth, find the right number, and deal's done.
Okay, there we go.
That's just a guess. That'd be a guess.
Don't forget,
maybe once they sell Tyree Simpson for 18 million quid.
400 million.
Could you imagine?
So don't forget, we've got a survey out. Help us shape our content next year. But for tonight, we are done. We are dusted. We are back on Wednesday with our end of the year awards. Who do we give Player of the Year to? Best striker, best defender. All of that will have its Milk Tray Man and the Fisherman with me, but we invite all of you, obviously, as always.
Hold on. Tonight, Fisherman's going to give awards for players. So that means he has to, rate a player.
Like somebody, yeah.
How long's the show? How long?
Well, this is it. I don't know. I don't know. But we invite all of you to get involved as always, as well as you've seen tonight. Lewis Robinson, Penny new contract, and Benica Phobie, summer done. George, as always, amazing. I will see you soon. He is the king. He has come to squash the waffle and defend.
Let's say your subscribers, isn't it? Your subscribers and riches.
Defend Sam Morsey's honour. Don't forget, hit subscribe. We are heading towards 4,000. If we can hit 4,000 before July 30th, Rich is giving away a couple of season tickets. Check back on yesterday's show. There'll be a video also to announce that. Hopefully, George has got some lovely artwork to go with it. That's gonna.
So it's in the pipeline.
To be looks absolutely sexy, really set us apart. But until tomorrow, Wednesday, we're off with care. We love you.
We're on a journey, looking back on the things that we've taken for granted, but feels like we're learning to be better without what's been holding us back now.